Hello, Dan Townsley here with another Furkot trip tip. Today I want to focus on one of the new features in Furkot, which is GPX export for new Garmin routes. And this is a method where you can export your trip plan with routes such that your new Garmin device that recognizes via points and shaping points can use this data and create route paths that are absolutely faithful to what you've drawn or created in Furkot. So I've got a segment here that I use the alternate route method for. It's data pulled from OSM Map, basically a track, since the Google Map doesn't have the road on it. So I've created this segment with a couple of shaping or points, pass-through points at the front and back of it. I'm going to change one of these pass-through points to a waypoint or stop, but with zero duration. I don't need any time for the stop. I just want it highlighted as a waypoint and in my route points as a via point. So I click on the pass-through again and change its icon to anything that's a stop icon. So I'm going to select the flag and still notice there's no duration, which is what I wanted. And I'm going to change the name so that I'll quickly recognize it in my route data as a route point. So I'll give it a special name. And then once I do this, of course, save it. And then I'm going to verify that it truly is a stop by checking my stop filters so I can be assured that yes, it is a stop, again with zero duration. So now what I want to do is export this using the new Garmin GPX routes export. So I go up to my export page, I select the Garmin route GPX export. I'm selecting tracks because I always select tracks along with my routes. They're my backup. And I'm selecting 0 additional route points. I don't need any more, I think. And now I'm going to export this and it'll download to my computer. I'm going to open it in my text file. But this is the route segment as it appears on my Navigator 5. And if I zoom in on it, you'll notice that it really is a tracks-like segment. It's going off the mapped road. So how does it do that? Well, let's look in the GPX data and I'll show you how it does that. So here I have my GPX file as my waypoints at the beginning of my route data and my track data. So let's look at the route data. I have the name of the route as it was created in Furkot, day 1 and the date. And I have some extension information, and then I have all my route points. I should have 9 route points here, which would give me 8 route segments as I had in my Furkot plan. So there's a couple of things we want to look at as we try to explore how Garmin is going to keep this basically a track within my route from being recalculated to follow roads. It may be okay to follow some roads, but it may not be either. So as I look at the segment, you can see it has the route point name that I gave in my route plan. And now what we're going to look at is this interesting information down here called extensions. And this is proprietary information that's provided by the GPS manufacturer or the application developer, pertinent to particular devices or applications. In this case, the information is pertinent to not only Furkot but also to Garmin. So within this extensions information, I have my via point description, which tells Garmin device that this is a via point in the route above. And then Furkot's put some of their information in here. I'm not quite sure what they're going to do with that in a GPX context. Maybe things to come. So I want to look at this route point extension information because this is the data that makes that line follow off the road in the map in my GPS. So when I look at that data, it kind of pretty much just looks like a track. There are some coded segments in the beginning and here at the end. Those happen to be notations for what kind of a route point extension this is. In this case, we're using a generic code out of Furkot to tell Garmin that this route point is a via point, and all the information that follows is the path that the GPS should follow, unless recalculated, which is something you don't want to do with these types of routes. The way to avoid that, of course, is to set your navigation recalculation preferences to off. But in this case, it doesn't matter. We have the data. It's in our GPS, and we know it's good because we zoomed in on the screen and looked at our route path. I'll note it again here for you. It goes past the route or the mapped road that's in the here map data from Garmin. And this is the data that makes it do that. So we now know that there's data inside the GPX file for our Garmin devices, or can be, that keeps it following the path we wanted to take, even if it was a track and there were no roads on the map. Okay? Very useful approach. There's very few online applications or offline applications that can provide this kind of route data for your GPS, Furkot certainly being one of them. You'll notice I'm pointing out here the track segments. Tracks are, of course, a segment, and in tracks, Furkot separates each of the route segments into what's called a track segment. And these segments are used by devices like GPSs to reduce the amount of information they have to hold in memory at any particular instant. And so they can load segment 1, segment 2, segment 3, segment 4, same with routes, and not have to carry all of that route extension data in memory at the same time. So, a little education on GPX routes and tracks, and I hope that provides some good information for you today.